Welcome to 5 Star Weekly. This week we revel in how Atlanta is cementing itself as a soccer hub, and we worry about our depth with the mounting injuries. We get into all that and more coming up. Before we get into it, become part of the notification squad by hitting the bell next to the subscribe button on YouTube. Welcome to the show, 5 Star fam. I'm AJ, and Atlanta United, they drew NYCFC to a 1-1 draw on Saturday, and it was our first away point on the road. It was definitely a match where there were a lot of shots. We will get into all of that, but before we do, much love to all the Patreon members that have pledged. And yes, you can get in on the grassroots level with us. We have a lot of fun things coming up. Definitely want to be part of those. You will not want to miss it. But guys, as well, we are on the road to 10K subs. Make sure, if you have not subscribed yet, to subscribe. We have noticed that the algorithm shows us that there's a lot of people that are watching that have not subbed. So go ahead and get in there. And yeah, we definitely love you for it. And go ahead and just hit that subscribe button. But yeah, let's get into the match review then. And so, yeah, it was very much like the last meeting between NYCFC and Atl United. Yeah, there was, yeah, another draw against them. But yeah, this time we played at City Field, a little bit different surroundings, slightly bigger pitch, but still a pretty compact one. And yeah, the cozy confines, yeah, it definitely led to a lot of shots. I mean, Atl United, we conceded 23 shots to NYCFC. We also got 19 of our own, but yeah, the XG for us was at a 3.5 and NYCFC had a 2.4. There was a lot of action. Whether it was all on target or not, that was not the case. NYCFC couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Yeah, there were a lot of wayward shots into yeah, like I said on the post-match live reactions, they shot into row Z, like the British people are wont to say, but I feel like it was way past that. It was into row AA, row BB, CC. There were some bad shots, but what's troubling is how many looks that they got. And, you know, while they didn't look like they were going to score from the run of play, we unfortunately gave a very silly penalty. And Tristan Muyumba, unfortunately, yeah, was called for the foul. But, yeah, you know, before that, you know, because that happened in the 43rd minute of the match. But, yeah, you know, throughout that first half, there were a lot of scoring chances. Yeah, there was, yeah, Tristan Muyumba's shot over goal. Almada, he had two good looks as well. And yeah, Saba probably had the best chance. Yeah, and yeah, NYCFC's keeper Freese in the 39th minute, he was able to keep us off of the score sheet, and pretty much right after that, NYCFC was able to get down the pitch. They were on a counterattack, and Muyumba pulls his man just slightly. It's pretty soft, but it is a foul, unfortunately. And after a lengthy VAR, they got their penalty. And yeah, Santiago Rodriguez gave them the 1-goal lead. Brad Guzan, unfortunately, kind of guessed the wrong way. And yeah, I mean, Muyumba, like I mentioned in the live post-match fan reactions, he's kind of night and day when it comes to at the bends and on the road. On the road, he seems just a little more haphazard, a little less steady. But at home, of course, he's that kind of breaks up the play everywhere. He pops up in all positions, and kind of that all action guy. But on the road, it's a little bit more where he's more prone to give away a cheap foul, get yellow card, and it's Muyumba hopefully can kind of stamp this out of his game a little bit, because I think we need him on the road to really perform and to really be that player that can be steady for us. And because I think without this penalty, they looked a little. It didn't look like they were going to score. They had a whole bunch of shots, but not too many of them were on target. And if they were, Brad Guzan, he was able to, kind of collect them when they were a little bit more shots on goal. But in terms of, it seemed like a very back and forth match, just a tennis match, really, and it just kept going. And in terms of the second half, for Atl United, I think it was this. I think we talked about it, kind of in the live thing, that Tyler Wolff looked pretty abject. He was getting into scoring positions, but he was not putting them away. His replacement, basically Mascara coming in. I mean, he made an instant impact almost, and it was basically where there was a long ball from Brad Guzan after it was a header back to safety from Derek Williams. Well, Brad Guzan, he was able to spray it out with a diagonal to Mascara on the right, and he delivered a one-time clean cross to Jamal Tiare at the back post, who was streaking in there. And I mean, it's 3 goals in 2 games. Tiare, with his 3rd goal of the season, and Guzan was credited with a hockey assist. You get those in MLS. Definitely congrats to him. It's his first in his MLS career, and also, I mean, the first one in 269 minutes, 269th game in MLS. So definitely very, very kind of amazing for Guzan to finally get that duck off his back, or break that duck rather. But there was a sub that was already going to happen. It seemed like Tiare had already injured himself, but Derek Etienne did come on, and that was probably the most perplexing move of the night, as he came on at striker. And I mean, it's just Derek Etienne is not someone that we probably as fans have a ton of faith in, unfortunately. He pretty much does not really get anything on the score sheet in terms of an assist or a goal, and it's definitely perplexing for sure. But in this match, we didn't get to see Gigi or Silva, as they were both out, and Rios had just returned to training, so Pineda said they prefer to put players on the bench who can play full 90 if needed. So definitely, I think we missed a striker up top, because after Derek Etienne came on, we looked a lot less dangerous in terms of our ability to actually get in the box to score the goal. Now, we had some chances created, especially for Derek Etienne, where Thiago Almada was able to find a cross into the box, but Derek Etienne, for some reason or another, decided to head it back over, Yeah, he should have tried to head it on goal because he was 1 yard away. It was probably next to his sub, the oddest play of the night. It almost seems like Derek Etienne, it's working against us a little bit. And, I mean, seems like a really, really nice guy, but with some of the rules that are coming up that might be changing in terms of roster construction, I think you may see something coming up in the future. But we'll get into those news in a later segment. But yeah, in terms of trading chances, it just kept going back and forth. More substitutions as Jay Fortune came on for Saba. And I mean, essentially, I think we tried to kind of shore up the the midfield and defense a little bit in the latter parts of this match to make sure that we didn't get caught out, but it definitely left us without really much in attack. And Amada pretty much was the false 9 at the end of the night. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, this result is a positive in that it's our first road point on the season. But I think there is that sense that we kind of left something in terms of the how clinical we were in front of goal, because it was tough. We, with how many chances? I mean, 19 shots, 6 on target, an XG of 3.5. We played direct. We should have scored more goals. We did not. And ultimately, the 5 Stripes are to blame for, not only not putting the ball in the back of the net, but giving away this silly penalty. And, I mean, at that point, it's a little bit self-inflicted. So, it should have been probably a little bit more. We could have gotten 3 points, but we'll take it. It's we're now 3-2-1 for a total of 10 points, 6th in the East. So that gets us into the news. We will talk about the Philly Union match that's coming up in our match preview with a very special guest. But into the news and how the standings look. So we're in 6th. In terms of surprisingly in 1st, New York Red Bulls are at the top of the standings right now with 14 points. A very resurgent Red Bulls team. But second is Philadelphia, Miami, after that Columbus and Cincinnati ahead of us, with Toronto right behind us. So it's definitely a kind of topsy-turvy start to the season for a lot of the clubs. I imagine there will be a lot more twists and turns coming up. But so next bit of news, Atl United, according to the AJC, ticket sales have returned to levels before COVID-19. And so, that's really huge in one sense. I feel like inside the stadium, though, it doesn't quite exactly always feel like that. There's some quiet corridors in the stadium. So while, the ticket sales have been, rising, which are probably due to, us having a better team, but it's still, I think the atmosphere needs some work. So hopefully once all the people are in and, they feel more at home, they can get a little bit more acclimated with the energy that we need inside the stadium. But next bit of news is that the One Planet pre-match tops have arrived. It's made from recycled materials, and every club will have one. There's 3 colorways. Ours is the green one with a floral pattern, and looks pretty decent. I mean, is there maybe a little too much green, a little too green on it? Yeah, I think a little bit, but I think design-wise, it works. We've had something a little bit similar as well as far as a pre-match top, but I guess they're kind of doing away with the parlay a little bit with the one planet. So, we'll see. I don't know if they have, but the one planet definitely is a very, very interesting one that everyone will be wearing before matches. So, next bit of news is that the Athletic, they said that they report that MLS is set to make some changes to roster rules for the summer window. Option of either 3 DPs or 3 U22s, or 2 DPs and 4 U22s, with a $2 million GAM and 2 buyouts per season, a max of $3 million in GAM on transfer revenue per year. The meeting with the MLS Players Association is going to happen, and they will approve it or not. But very, very interesting, because the ramifications could be where, if Stian Gregerson can be bought down, we can bring in another DP possibly. Thiago Almada, if he is moved, well, we have the decision to either go with that, bring in maybe a younger U22, but I don't know. I think we should stick with the 3 TPs. I think we need the experience where you're trying to win now. And but the 2 buyouts, that's where it's going to be very interesting who we might use that on. I would say Derek Etienne should probably be feeling the heat a little bit, because essentially a year plus of him being here, he unfortunately has not really shown much in the statistic department. And while he works decently hard, I'm just not sure that we should continue to trot out a player that it's clearly just not working. I think in terms of positions that he can maybe deputize at, it's tough seeing him kind of play out there, because the drop-off is just so big and his confidence has just been shot. It's just not there. So, but hopefully he can. But, it will be interesting who and if we would use that buyout on. So, next bit of news is that, there's another soccer attendance record in Atlanta. 50,644 on hand to see the U.S. women's national team get the win. And, it seemed like it was a seminal type of atmosphere where, kind of the beginning of things brewing, like Atlanta first getting into the Benz or at Bobby Dodd. It felt like that, at least from many accounts. And so, definitely a huge thing coming up that, if Atlanta United can get an NWSL team, or Arthur Blank can, kind of get a consortium of owners and investors, it could be something, or, just by himself too. Atlanta, it's already kind of a soccer hub, but even more so now, because largest crowd ever for a U.S. women's national team friendly in the United States. Well, now as well for U.S. soccer, the Arthur Blank National Training Center has taken root. It is named after our team owner here, and it's a big day for soccer in America. Because they broke ground in Fayetteville for that training center, and it is now named after him. It's right in our backyard. It's Arthur Blank has even mentioned this really is not about me. It's about not about us. It's about our values. It's about really acknowledging the countless young men and women that have had the opportunity to chase their dreams here. Ooh, having trouble reading right now. I'll just reread that. But opportunity to chase their dreams here. And yeah, training center is valued at over $200 million, and it spans more than a dozen soccer fields, 100,000 square feet of indoor courts, 200,000 feet of high-performance facilities, locker rooms, meeting rooms, and headquarters space. And it's expected to create 440 new jobs. So definitely super awesome that this is the case. And also the Coca-Cola company has also contributed to the facility. So yeah, Arthur Blank, he contributed $50 million to the project. And yeah, it seems like it's probably going to be money well spent. So super amazing for Atlanta, for the nation, for Arthur Blank, for soccer. I mean, this is going to be a huge thing for Georgia. So yeah, moving on from that into unfortunate injury news. Yes, Jamal Tiare and defender Derek Williams, they are expected to miss the next 2 to 4 weeks after suffering injuries at New York City FC. And Tiare, he suffered an injury to his left hamstring, and Williams suffered an injury to his left calf. So 2 to 4 weeks for Tiare, 2 to 3 weeks for his calf for Derek Williams. Noah Cobb, he did mention in the press that you never want anyone to get injured, but when someone gets hurt, it's never good. But when I think we have good depth and we have good pieces. With Steon's injury, I had to step in. It's the same for other guys. I think it's just the next man up mentality. So yeah, while it is, doesn't mean there's less worry for the rest of either fans or I think the rest of the team. It's definitely, we are up against it for sure. But yeah, next and last bit of news: Atl Utd announced that Daniel Russo, the Karate Kid, unfortunately he sustained an ACL tear or an injury in his right knee and has been placed on the season-ending injury list. He and Javier Armas have been doing a vlog of sorts on their YouTube channel, and yeah, I guess we'll see a little bit of that recovery possibly on their vlog. But unfortunately, yeah, it was probably a lot more eventful than they probably intended it to be. But yeah, Russo, he had just signed December 22nd, 2023, after spending the last 4 years at Notre Dame. And unfortunately, he is injured for the rest of the season now. So best wishes on a quick recovery for Daniel Russo. So that is the news, and it gets us into the mailbag. And you guys send in these questions through IG story. Please continue to do so. We might answer your question in the future. So first question comes from Patreon highest tier member Gavin. He said, is our defense screwed this weekend as we face unbeaten Philly? Well, we only have Abram and Cobb as our CBs who speak different languages and could possibly lead to miscommunication during the match. Yeah, it very much is a big worry. And yeah, as the two most senior players at center back, that is absolutely a concern that we should really have kind of, just a keep in mind of when we're watching this match. And I think there will be some 3-day contracts for some players coming up from the twos to be able to, maybe Efra Morales, maybe some other players to kind of fill out the rest of the bench, because we are woefully short at center back already. So, yeah, in terms of that, it's something that I think, Gavin, you're right. Next question comes from the ATL guy. Will Steon get minutes in the next game? While he is probably about maybe 1.5 weeks away, I'm not so sure. I mean, hopefully he can get to the bench, but I don't know. I think it's still too soon for him. And if we do, we might be risking further injuring him. So I feel like we should just kind of live and die by Cobb and Abram. But next question comes from Josh Cohen fan. What should Almada change ahead of the game against Philly? Yeah, I mean, Almada, it seems like it's a matter of sharpness. It's a matter of the cohesiveness and continuity with the rest of the team. And it seems like it's just maybe not quite there yet, as he didn't really have a proper preseason with the rest of the squad. But Almada, I mean, I think, what he could do a little bit better is, kind of try to play with his teammates a little bit more. I think he has been creating a lot of good chances. The unfortunate part about it is that, either from the chances that he's created or from himself when he's shooting, it's just a lack of, the actual final third actions that actually result in a goal. He's not been clinical enough. He has gotten decent looks, but yeah, it's just something missing. And I think what he should change is probably just try to keep it a little bit more simpler, where he's not trying to dribble everybody, kind of taking on, a bunch of players into blind corridors. I think if he can play a little bit more 1-2s, a little bit more where he's not trying to do too much, I think he can get back on track. So, next question comes from A12 Hernandez. Will we ever have a full healthy squad? Man, you never know. It just seems like 3 DPs. It's just we're only gonna see that a handful of times, and I think that, at least so far anyway, and that's really disheartening and sad, obviously. But if we can, like that's the whole MLS rules. We're a team that loves to spend, and if we can and if we could, we absolutely would try to get 2 players for each position, because that's how you can actually win in this league. But at least most leagues, that's how you would do it too. But I think we're just pretty shallow after our 11th player. It's getting into homegrown territory, or very young kids, or players that are into the twilight of their careers. And so it makes sense, but it is obviously it's just kind of the nature of MLS. But last question comes from Jonah G18. Do you think Arthur Blank will ever treat the club like a sports team and not a business? It's a really interesting take. If Atl United, I think they do and have prioritized the optics and the big crowd returns, the fervent support, but in terms of the trophies, at least recently, I think I've said this in previous episodes, if you guys recall. Yeah, Atlanta is kind of a we have been mediocre or bad longer than we have been good, and that is troubling for sure. We do need to probably be a little bit more ruthless with either some players or front office pieces that I think Garth Lagerwey is I think making amends from the previous regime, but I think obviously we know that Carlos Bocanegra is still there, and I think we have been unlucky with injuries as well. So it's a whole thing that it's a whole kind of confluence of things that really kind of have made the past 4 to 5 years pretty difficult to actually support Atl Utd in some senses. But yeah, guys, that is the mailbag, and yeah, we have a very special guest for our match preview. And welcome back to the show, John Zapata, aka El Parcero Philly. Man, always a pleasure, man.
It's always awesome coming on Atlanta United Fantasy. How you doing, AJ?
I'm doing fantastic. Stoked to cover this with you because it's a big one. 2:30 on Sunday at the Benz, Atl United versus the Philadelphia Union, who are on a very hot streak of form, winning 3 in a row, as well as being undefeated in the league. And unfortunately bounced out in the CCC, but yeah, you guys beat Nashville SC 2-1 last week, and you kind of have our number a little bit, at least in the past 6. It's 1 win for us. You guys have 3. There's only 2 draws. It's we're up against it a little bit because you guys beat us most recently as well in October 3-2. So hopefully there's not a mirror of this in the in the actual proceedings. But in terms of your off season and who you guys lost and who you guys brought in, tell us about your off season.
Yeah, that was kind of the story of the offseason, just kind of the fact that we're running it back. That's the storyline. You're running it back, part 3. It's the same starting 11. Really didn't lose anyone. And the main thing was Kai Wagner and Alejandro Bedoya. Their contracts were up after last year. Would they come back? With the Kai situation, obviously, we all know what happened with Bobby Wood. Should they bring him back? That was a big question mark. They wound up bringing him back. And Alejandro Bedoya, the big question mark was obviously age. Like he's not getting any younger. So they both get brought back. You put together the same exact squad. The only real additions, AJ, were some young kids that, this is really, I'm really gonna laugh when I tell you this, but you bring in Marcus Anderson, who comes from 3rd division Spanish soccer. Yes, I said that. Jaime Herberdicio, who is a Bolivian. We don't even know his position yet. He's 19 years old. He could play fullback. He could play as a shuttler. He could play anywhere in the midfield. We don't have a set position for him. We haven't even really seen him on the pitch in the regular season. And then you bring in Oliver Zemla, who comes from Louisville City. He is the backup now. He's actually looked pretty solid so far early on in the season. And look, we make the joke about running it back. We make the joke that this team, this club is scared of spending money. But, AJ, this is what the Union do. They play the MLS edition of Moneyball. Marcus Anderson and Oliver Zemla, in the small amount of time we've seen them, have looked solid. Oliver looks to be someone that we can rely upon when Andre's out. And Marcus Anderson, we've seen him in spurts, but he can stretch a back line. He's got a lot of speed. He's more of a natural winger, but Jim has found a place for him to play. But that's really been the story of the offseason. Like, obviously, the Union don't typically spend money. They've also spent whatever money they do spend smartly. But at some point, something's got to give, AJ. Like, you're so close. You're knocking on the door. Spend a little bit more, and that's been what this fan base has been kind of yelling at Ernst and Jay Sugarman.
Yeah, because spend a little to get you guys over the top to actually, kind of cross that line where trophies lie, and that's the difficulty. Is you guys have been really agonizingly close, and it's heartbreaking, I'm sure, for all your fans to be that close, and yet it's the difficulty where. Yeah, I mean, Jim Curtin, he definitely rubs some Atlanta United fans the wrong way, unfortunately.
I bet.
With driver's license gate and, other things like that. But, there might be something coming for, him in terms of, a stadium presentation of sorts. So, I'll just leave it at that. But I've just heard some rumors, and they, yeah, exactly. But But in terms of, you guys and your form, I mean, would you actually term it as, okay, this is expected. We, everything that we're doing, oh yeah, this is what we can see from the performance and the results. They all align together. Or is it a little bit of fool's gold?
That's a really good question. Look, obviously this is a really good team still. We make the joke of running it back, but there's a reason why they ran it back, because listen, the starting 11 is really good. You can put them up with some of the best in the league here. But I mean, the main issue for me is, like, yes, they're playing really well right now, but I can't forget the fact that they got embarrassed in their elimination game against Pachuca in leg 2 that knocked them out of CCC. That didn't leave a good taste in anyone's mouth. And that's a Pachuca team that's kind of built similarly to the Union when they emphasize youth, but the main difference is they will spend some money, and that's something to kind of open everyone's eyes out. So, like, yes, they are playing really well right now, but like I always say, AJ, what's going to happen when you get to playoff time? Like, that's great. We know you're a regular season. We have a supporter shield from 2020. We know this. But when it comes to the big games, and we're talking about getting major hardware, meaning Champions Cup or MLS Cup, are you going to be able to get it done? Do you have enough difference makers to get you over that hump? That's kind of where I'm leaning towards. Like, this to me is not, like, this is nothing new. But what's going to happen in the playoffs? And I think a lot of the fan base feels that way as well, but it's more of a wait and see type of situation.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of that as well, because we know MLS depth can be a whole thing. That's what we're dealing with, unfortunately. A lot of players out, at least, 3 very important ones in Stian Gregerson, of course, but Jamal Tiare, who scored our last goal at New York City, or, where City Field is in Queens, but yeah.
One of the baseball
not truly.
fields.
Yeah, one of the baseball fields. But, not their home either. But, in terms of, as well, another center back in Derek Williams is out. I mean, Yorgos Yakumakis, day-to-day, possibly out too. Sean Da Silva, possibly out. Tell me you have somebody that is also out as well for you guys, because our injury list is long. What about you guys?
Well, we'll find out on Friday about more injury reports, but the main one is Andre Blake. He missed last week's match against Nashville. He did suffer some type of a head injury against Minnesota. There was a collision on a corner kick. So that's why I said, like, Oliver Zemla has become a great surprise, because you plugged him in there, and it was a slow start. Granted, it was a slow start, but every start he's had, I think now he's going to, if he does start on Saturday, it'll be his 5th start if I'm not mistaken. But every single start, AJ, he's looked a lot better. I mean, Brad Guzan at one point was one of the good ones in this league as well. Having that stalwart in net is so important in this league, and so if Andre's not in there, we'll see how Zemla can handle the crowd at Mercedes-Benz. Obviously, listen, I know Atlanta right now doesn't feel too hot with all these injuries, but I mean, you guys can still put out 30,000 strong. That's a good crowd out there. So that's really the one injury that I would definitely keep an eye out for. Ua, he did miss last week. I'm curious to see if he, with the plantar fasciitis, that's not easy, especially in this sport, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see his status here for Saturday, but I'll be honest with you, if Ua's not out there, I'm not too worried. I mean, I know he's like our top paid DP, but it's been somewhat disappointing with him. He does everything well off the ball, but when you're paying money, your big time money for a DP, especially at the striker position, AJ, I don't think it's far-fetched to ask for some goals, a lot of goals, and he really hasn't done that. So those are really 2 ones that I would keep an eye out for.
Okay. I mean, the plantar fasciitis, that is, you're right. It is an odd injury for football. I mean, how did that even happen? I mean, is it during during training? Like, very
great question. Yeah, okay. I would love to know that too, but we haven't had that word. But it is definitely weird, and it's just like, It feels like ooh. I mean, like you got to, obviously we all know like getting players over, international players over to this league with visas can be difficult. It took them like a month and a half, if I'm not mistaken. But it's just always been weird with Ua. And now with deal with his plantar fasciitis, we'll see if he does start out there on Saturday.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, going into the season, you know, a lot of the pundits had you guys as high as third. Or actually as high as first, but as low as seventh or eighth. What do you guys, or what do you feel like your expectations going into the season was for a Eastern Conference finish?
Yeah, like I said, I still think that even before the season, this was still one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. I mean, the running back thing was kind of an inside joke here in Philly, but like it's still one of the better lineups in this league. So top three at the beginning of the year was my expectation. I still think it is going to be that. We'll see, because like one thing we did notice, Leagues Cup, and we're all going to feel that. Leagues Cup really kind of dampered just the stamina of this team. Once that kind of hit, everyone we went all the way to the third place game. That was a lot extra soccer to add on to what everyone else already had. So that's going to be the big question mark, because last year they were rolling into Leagues Cup. Like I think they were still at the top of the East. And then after Leagues Cup and after that, honestly, AJ, after that Messi game in Chester, like that team wasn't the same. And they kind of, you know, they stumbled their way into the playoffs. And then we had that win against New England. It was convincing. And then the Cincinnati thing was a super unfortunate. But I'm curious to see how Leagues Cup will change this time around when it comes to preparation. Because as we all know, it's extra soccer, but everyone wants to play because ting ting, right? That cash money is very nice to win, though. But that's what I'm waiting for. But I do expect this team to still finish near the tops of the East.
Yeah. Well, you know, on that, if they don't, Jim Curtin, is he on the hot seat? I mean, this season feels like, okay, you know, like you're saying, it's run it back. I mean, you know, in a kind of very low-key sense, it's kind of like The Last Dance a little bit, huh? I mean, so in that sense, is that something that's you feel like the higher-ups are looking at? I mean, is Jim Curtin long for this job, or you know, is it kind of time at the end of the season if there are no trophies in the cabinet?
That's a great question, and obviously that question's been creeping up here over the past couple of weeks, especially before the winning streak they went on. They were drawing a bunch and they got eliminated by Pachuca. Look, to me personally, like if the Union do not make it or do not win MLS Cup this year, I can't really put the blame all on Jim. And obviously circumstances can happen, injuries can happen, all that good stuff. But when I look at this team has been really good. But I think everyone knows that, like last year, Cincinnati, although we had the opportunity to win, Cincinnati was the better team. 2 years ago, MLS Cup final, we gave LAFC all they could handle, but we were not the better team. And on paper and through the 120 minutes plus the shootout, we were not the better team. So like, to me, like the pattern's right there. You're good, but not good enough to get to that point. So unfortunately, this is a business. We all know that. And Jim could very well be that scapegoat, but Jim has done a fantastic job. I mean, even look at this winning streak that they went on last week. Let's look at last week alone. They were down 1-0 in Nashville. Now, Nashville's not the same team, but you know, AJ, playing in Geodis Park is not easy. And this team found a way to bounce back and get the W. This team believes in each other. And honestly, that's shocked me, because I'm thinking as like probably thinking like more as a fan. Like I'm looking at all the losses that they've had over the past couple of years, and like after getting shellacked 6-0 to Pachuca, I would be like, dude, are we really that good? But no, this team, they still believe in each other, and that has a lot to do with Jim. So I get it. This is a business. If they don't win hardware, I really don't believe it will be on Jim. Things can change, but unfortunately, if they don't, Jim could get that axe, and that would be super unfortunate. And this fan base will not forgive that.
Yeah, I mean, do you think the fans are clamoring for that, or
I don't. I personally don't think so. I think that this has become because I see nationally, right? Nationally, the MLS pundits have been bringing this up, and I get it. Like it's a valid topic to bring up, but I think the fan bases, their anger is more not even towards Ernst, but it's more towards Jay, who kind of holds the money. Because when you're seeing Brennan Aronson getting sold, Mark McKenzie getting sold, I mean, we're gearing up for a potential Julian Carranza. We'll see this summer. That's going to be something to keep an eye out for too, AJ. If Julian Carranza gets sold, because he's playing really well. But you've been selling players. I get it. Like the youth academy is important. We have one of the best in the world, and that's awesome. Like Kevin Sullivan's more likely is going to get sold to Manchester City. That's super cool. But at some point, this fan base wants to see some of that money getting dished on the first team, and you talk about that depth. I mean, look, our depth is a bunch of kids right now. Well, granted, they're playing really well, but I think the fan base their anger is towards the front office than the coach.
Gotcha. And that's definitely difficult to get rid of the front office or the owners.
Right.
And so, yeah, there might be some scapegoating. That is, very, very
unfortunate.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's get into the predictions. In terms of the starting 11 for you guys, who do you think?
Look, Jim went with the 3-5-2. Granted, that's not what Nashville's been rolling with this year. They've loved the spread out, especially the width. They love that width, so Jim kind of matched that. And, it was fine. I thought it was the wrong move. Look, the 4-4-2 diamond is at its best right now. And, I mean, you've seen this formation for the last 4 years. But right now, what's really working, well, let's get to the back. So if Andre's not starting, it's going to be Zemel in goal. Your back line, more likely, is going to be Kai Wagner, Glazis Elliott, and Nathan Harriel, who's been another great young surprise, every year improving as a youngster. But the midfield's been the big thing here, AJ. And Bruno Martinez is still at the 6, but you have these two young shuttlers who come from the youth academy. Jack McGlynn, who we've seen, he's taking that next step. More importantly, defensively, he's been more involved and more willing to defend and be physical. That's the big thing with some of these kids. And then Quinn Sullivan has been the revelation, brother, because this kid has married himself to that position, first off, but he adds to the attack because he has the freedom to move all the way up into that attack. And that's when you see him creating that width. And he's got that knack, especially in that final third, to create for himself as well. That's something that's been such a revelation. It's really helped this attack. Daniel Gazek, of course, the tip of the diamond with Carranza. If Ua's not going out there, what probably may happen is Quinn will move up into more of a forward role, and then you'll potentially see Alejandro Bedoya or Jesus Bueno, who hasn't seen a lot of time this year, but last year he was a big piece for us, especially at the end of the season. But you could see the return of Alejandro Bedoya, so it really all depends on Ua. But in general, keep an eye out for all the ATLians out there. Keep an eye out for Quinn Sullivan, especially on that turf or that surface over at the Benz. I really like to see him out there, but he's been the big one.
Yeah, and you said it right, ATLians, man. And speaking of that,
I remember.
Yeah, man. Speaking of that, R11, it's really a guess right now because we're so banged up. But from back to front, I think, it's Guzan, Wiley, and Lennon, the fullbacks. Just they're healthy and definitely the best fullbacks that we have. But it's the center backs that will be the greatest question mark. I mean, I think it's obvious who's going to start now, but it's a matter of can they hold back this attack from Philly. And, shut the door. I'm not sure. But Cobb, Abram as the center backs for sure. Into midfield, Schleich and Muyumba. And then on the wings, that's kind of where a question is as well. Mosquera definitely has been a piece off the bench that has been a spark plug. Tyler Wolff kind of had a little bit of a mare last match where he started, and Silva is a little bit of a question mark. So if Silva can start, he's going to start. But if not, I think Mosquera is going to be the other winger along with Saba. And Almada, he's going to be in the middle. But the question is, who is healthy to play up top? Daniel Rios so far has been pictured in training, so he looks like the de facto guy that we have. up top. Otherwise, if Yorgos Akamakis can shake off that day-to-day, maybe he can. But Jamal Tiare, of course, obviously being out 2 to 4 weeks with a hamstring, we are woefully short in the striker department. And the main thing in football or soccer is to score goals. And when you don't have a striker, it's asking a lot of the other players that's not their bread and butter. So
rely on those set pieces, AJ.
Exactly, but that's the thing. I don't think we have our big guys to actually win those either in the box.
Oh man,
we're looking small. We're looking experienced. I am terrified to some degree about this match.
We see. Is there any listen? It'd be crazy to think, especially at home. But would you see them parking the bus? I mean, how are you going to score goals against that back line?
Yeah, well, I think it's a little bit of this. I think we will try to play more direct with more verticality like we have this season. We've done really well doing that. Our last goal, our last goal against NYCFC was, pretty much in 14 or less than 14 seconds. So definitely something that we want to do lately in terms of keeping possession and trying to play out from the back. I don't really think we should with the inexperience, as well as Noah Cobb being 19, Luis Abram, Peruvian. They haven't really played a ton of minutes together, and the other 19-year-old in Caleb Wiley. There's a lot of inexperience here against a very experienced side in Philly. I think we should probably look to kind of play as quickly through the lines sometimes here as possible to not linger too long and make our center backs have to really make too many decisions. It's that. The center backs. It's so important. Those two should be talking all match, and I don't know. There's a little bit of a possible language barrier there that hopefully, I don't know, we can break through. But in terms of you guys, I mean, do you feel like you're going to try to impose yourself, try to get some control, dominate the proceedings, or what do you feel like the Union are going to do?
Well, I mean, we saw, especially in that first half against Nashville, that high press make that way, and they really were pressing the crap out of that Nashville back line. So from what you're telling me, I would definitely try to implement that here again. But, I mean, regardless, listen, Gazdag, so after the last international break, the Hungarian manager, Marco Rossi, kind of called out Gazdag in the media. And ever since then, since he returned, Gazdag kind of played with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. So really curious to see how he's going to play here again another week. But I would expect them to press the crap out of that back line. But you mentioned playing vertically. I mean, we all listen. As good as the Union are, especially defensively, they're prone to mistakes. And now Glessinelli did not start off the season hot. They've looked much better these past couple of weeks. Heck, let's just throw Damian Lowe in there as well, because he's kind of like 1C. I mean, you plug him in, he's still a really quality center back in this league. So it is going to be interesting to see how kind of Atlanta tries to break down some of our strong points here, and especially the midfield. I mean, we always talk about the same formation that they run, but that compact midfield is a pain in the butt. And then, like I mentioned, with Jack and Quinn being that revelation on the shuttlers, it's really making that engine go even further, man.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, Pineda has featured a little bit more of a kind of, what is, I think, colloquially called as inverted fullbacks, but it's not exactly, I would say, the best term. But still, we've kind of used that as a feature more lately with Brooks Lennon playing a little bit more interior at times. Caleb Wiley is more of kind of a playmaker, but not a crosser of the ball.
Okay.
So, I think there is a little bit of ability here to maybe overload the midfield as well to try to match that. But, yeah, I mean, Pineda largely does not change his formation. And I am it's hard pressed for me to see that in this match too. But yeah, I mean, I guess that all leads us to the score prediction. So what do you got?
Oh. All right. I would like to say it'd be a draw for you guys, but I just don't see how, especially with the way we've been playing, road or at home. Honestly, this year it just doesn't matter. These guys, when they're playing union style soccer, they're physical, they're playing as a cohesive unit. It's just extremely difficult to beat us. I got a 3-2 victory here for the U. I think they go down there. I think they keep up this streak going. And I see them taking advantage of some of those key pieces that you guys are missing here. So I got the Union winning 3-2.
Yeah, I think there will be goals for sure. It's definitely.
It's Philly and Atlanta.
Like
Come on.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, it's often is, and I think it's evident in the previous scoreline as well. So yeah, hopefully it's not that. I have a 2-2 draw. It's also, I think, hard-pressed for me to maybe see where the goals are coming from, but I feel like at home we find a way. And so, you know, it's that. It's just, can we keep you guys out consistently enough? Well, I'm not sure, because last match, even with Derek Williams in there, we conceded 23 shots. So, yeah, there's going to be goals, I feel like. And hopefully we just we can eke out a result here, because it is going to be a tall order. But guys, what do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Looking forward to what you have to say. But yeah, John Zapata, El Parcero Philly, let us know where the good people can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. So things have changed since last time I've been on. So you guys can find me on PHLI Sports. I'm part of the Anthony Gargano Show, co-host and producer. On that show, we are live Monday through Friday, 9 to 11. We do talk Philly sports, but I'm trying to sneak in that Union talk there here in Philadelphia. But I still do a lot of Union stuff too. PHLY Union Podcast. That is the Union-centric podcast that we have there through PHLY Sports. But AJ, it doesn't matter where I'm at, who I'm covering the Union for. It is always a pleasure and an honor to catch up with you, my friend. And guys, make sure you guys show some love to Land United Fan TV. Let's go.
Oh, cheers, man. Always a pleasure, man. And yeah, much love to you and your family. Congrats on getting engaged. I mean,
appreciate that, my brother. Thank you.
So yes, absolutely. Big things coming for you. It's going to be amazing, I'm sure. And yeah, well, I would say good luck to the Philly. I won't, but good luck to you and everything else personally, and especially after this match. But yeah,
likewise. We'll talk soon, though, brother. All right.
Indeed. All right, we'll see you soon. So that was John Zapata, aka El Parcero Philly. Much love and thank you again to him for coming on the show and giving us some insight on the Philadelphia Union. But guys, that is pretty much the episode there and there, except for the question of the day. So the question of the day is, who do you think can step up against the Union? We absolutely know we will need it. We need to keep them off of the score sheet. We need to score some goals. It's going to be a tough day. Yeah, really looking forward to what you have to say, guys. So let us know in the comments below. But guys, that is the episode there and there. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I've been AJ, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.